Hi guys, welcome back. So today's video, as you can tell from the title, is about Paphiopedilums and Phragmipedium orchids. So I'm going to give you a little bit of info about them. Let me move these over here. I want to show you guys. Look how cute these little mounted Phalaenopsis orchids are. I just got done watering them, so move them out of the way. So I have a few. So I have some mottle leaf Paphiopedilums. I have some straight green leaf Paphiopedilums. There's no Phragmipediums in here, I believe. They're in another tote over there. So a Paphiopedilum orchid, which is like this, like this, like this, like this. I'll hold this up so you guys can look while I talk. So a Paphiopedilum orchid is more of a kind of a terrestrial orchid, unlike Phalaenopsis, Cattleyas, Vandas, Brastavalias that are an epiphytic orchid. These are more on the terrestrial side, kind of like your jewel orchids. These grow very close to streams in the wild, so they like wet feet. So I grow mine all year round. Doesn't matter if they're in the studio or out in the big greenhouse. I grow them in a tote like this. And in this tote, I keep water in them. And about every month, I keep the water line. Let me do this one-handed so I can show you guys. There we go. I keep the water line right about here. I keep the water level high in it. They like wet feet. Seems to work very good for me. So I just continue to do it. They are a very beautiful orchid, if you cannot tell from this foliage. And even the plain greens, like this right here, are absolutely beautiful. And then you get some little weirdos, like this one right here, which I have lost the ID for. I can't remember what it is, what the name of it is, but I know it's Paphiopedilum. And then you have ones have a different growth habit, different type of orchid, more of like a grassy type orchid. This is a Phragmipedium. This is Phragmipedium Eugene Conway. This is actually the Phragmipedium that got me into collecting Phragmipediums and Paphiopedilums. I will put a picture up on the screen so you guys can see what the bloom looks like. Ugh, it is phenomenal. This one bloomed for me I want to say last fall, into summer, fall. So I won't get any more blooms off of it till probably next year. Cool thing about these plants, like this one, the Eugene Conway Phragmipedium, it's a multifloral species. So if you look at these little sheaths kind of right here, that's a sheath for every time it bloomed. And then it will start shooting off offsets. And these will eventually bloom, creating more offsets. These only bloom once. The medium that these guys grow in my collection, and here's a sad example, you know, not every orchid in my collection is beautiful. This guy is got way too much sun when I moved him in here because they were behind me. There's a window behind that, and I didn't have anything over the window. It burnt it. But that's fine. It's got a new growth on it. The mix that this is in a very, very, very chunky orchid bark, big chunks of perlite, and horticultural charcoal. Keeps soil clean, not soil, but keep the medium clean with the charcoal. Let's see. This is a Paphiopedilum. This is a multifloral species of Paphiopedilums. You have a single floral version, like this one right here. Which one is this? Oh, this is Odette's Infatuation. That was a single flower plant. This one right here, which is Glycophyllum Red Flower by Victoria Marie, number 2. I actually think I featured this in my favorite plants of January, I want to say. Plants that make me happy, sorry. This is a multifloral. We've got, it's bloomed 1, 2, 3 flowers so far. So this is 4th, 5th, 6th. I see maybe the 7th coming on. So very excited about that. This thing's been blooming for like 8 months, to be honest. And I have another multifloral over here on the rack. You guys can't see, I'm sorry. That is blooming as well. I think it's probably a sibling or very closely related to this one because their flowers look very, very similar. So, lighting. Okay, so a lot of people have said the mottled leaf doesn't like a lot of light. It likes a lot of light. The green solid green version doesn't like a lot of light, likes a lot of light. I'll be honest with y'all, I give them all the same amount of light and they grow exactly the same. I do the Phragmipediums as well. I have more Paphiopedilums than I do Phragmipediums, but I love Phragmipedium. I love them both. I just love orchids. I've got a lot of orchids. When it comes to fertilizing these guys, I haven't fertilized these guys yet this winter / we're almost to spring. But the fertilizer that I use is the Repot Me brand. This is the MSU formula, not Missouri. I think Michigan State University formulated this fertilizer, and I also use it on all my other plants because it's a wonderful fertilizer. It's designed to not burn, from what I read. But anyway, fertilize these guys once a month during their peak growing season, which is coming up very, very soon. One thing about these guys, both Phragmipediums and Paphiopedilums, is they are very sensitive to fertilizer salts. So what will happen is they will absorb all of that and it'll go to the tips of their leaves and they will brown. So what I do is I fertilize when my water level is gone, when it's dried out. I go in and fertilize, let that set for 3 days, and then 3 days later I pull my trays off the rack, take them to the sink, and I wash them out. So I flush that media, getting all of those fertilizer salts out so it doesn't do any burn damage to the leaves. Some species, like I'm looking at this guy right here, he's losing some leaves, but guess what? We've got some more offshoots on him. They've got some really neat roots, and this one's not actually rooted in. Let me hide those ugly leaves for you. They're like fibrous, and they look like tree roots, honestly. They soak up a lot of water, and they anchor them into the medium. You will find in any of my mixes for these guys, there is no Spagna Moss. Now, like regular yard moss, I guess I would call it, somehow the spores get into the media and it grows on the top. All my moss is dead right now because it's very dry in here most of the time, which they don't tend to that doesn't tend to bother them. The humidity level in here doesn't tend to bother them. I think it creates a microclimate in here, having all this water in here. So it will, my moss dies off in the spring and the summer when they go into the big greenhouse. I have a misting system that kicks on I think I have it set for 30 seconds every hour, so the humidity level is like extremely high in there, and the moss grows back. But some of these orchids, and I don't know if you can see this little plant right here, this one came from Hawaii, and that little plant right there is a rabbitfoot fern. Fun fact, in Hawaii, rabbitfoot ferns grow all over the place, and they will end up in your orchid media, and you will have rabbitfoot ferns. I just leave them, they don't bother me, so I just keep them in there. I'm excited to see these guys bloom again. I just love the blooms. Like, sorry, it's moving. How can you not love that just twisty look? And some of them have wonderful colors, and they're just beautiful. So, again, just a quick recap. And I'll bring that closer so you can look at it while I talk. Pest-wise. honestly have not noticed, that's just dirt, sorry. I really haven't noticed a lot of pest on these. Move so you can see my face while I talk. I really don't have a pest problem with these. An occasional, well, that doesn't affect these either because they're full in the water. I don't see any pests. I don't see spider mites. I don't see any mealybugs. So for me, relatively pest free. Maybe in a different environment they may have pests, but I haven't had issues with that. So I think we've covered it all. Medium watering. They're always watered, to be honest, because they're in a tray of water that's probably 3 to 4 inches deep. But I don't continuously keep that level there. I'll let it dry out, then I'll put it, I'll let it get low, then I'll refill it like it needs to be refilled right now. That's what prompted this video, because I'm like, oh, I need to fill those up. And I noticed this Paphiopedilum still blooming. So, recap is moderate to high light for an orchid. That's where I keep them. In here, they're under the very bright, what are those? T5 lights. They're a T5 growing light. They're under them. In the summer, in the greenhouse, I have a 50% shade cloth over it, so they get very bright light there, and they seem to love it. Fertilizing, I do fertilizing once a month with these. Make sure you flush them after you fertilize them. Wait about 3 days, then flush them, clean that media out. They're also very, what's the word? They don't like chemicals in the water, so if I'm on a well, so I don't have any chemicals in my water. The only thing about my well is I have kind of a higher calcium level in there, which is fine. But I would use distilled water. If you have orchids and you have city water, use jug water, distilled water, RO water, please, because those chemicals go to the tips of them and just burn the crap out of them. The fertilizer I use is the 13315 NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. That's from repotme.com. It's the MSU formula. I will put that in the description below. And media, very, very chunky. Don't put soil in there, please. And thank you. You can use coconut chunks. Like I use a lot of coconut chunks. For if you're after any type of media, like a pre-made media, go to repotme.com. They have specifically designed orchid mixes for things like Paphiopedilums and Phragmipediums, Phalaenopsises, Oncidiums, Dendrobiums. I could go on and on. That reminds me, I have a really cool Sedum. I don't know where I put it. Give me just a second. Hold, please. This chunky thing is a Sedum orchid. And there. I haven't watered this thing in 6 months. But that's what you're supposed to do. We'll have a whole episode on Sedums, but I was like messing with it. I moved it today, so it was on my mind. So, you guys have any questions, please put them down below. I will answer them either by commenting back. I am going to start the recap videos. So, give me some questions so I can do it in the recap. Thank you guys for joining me today. You guys mean a lot to me. My subscriber count just keeps going up and up and up, and it makes my heart so happy. I do this as a hobby, and I'm enjoying it more and more and more. So thank you again, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything that I upload. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a beautiful time. Bye.